Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us in the first of a series of broadcasts on IRMAA. I'm your host, Charlie Melita, an IRMAA certified planner and financial services professional here in Red Bank, New Jersey. I want to introduce our team. Adriana Berry is our moderator, and will field your questions through the chat box. We are extremely fortunate to have a team of advisors as resources who monitor changes in the tax laws. And today we have with us Dan McGrath, an IRMAA certified planner also, and the author of a best-selling book, What You Don't Know About Retirement Will Hurt You. Dan will take us through the number one issue that will affect almost every American in retirement, and that's IRMAA. Dan, go take it from here.
Well, thank you very much, Charlie, for the introduction. Want to thank everyone for taking time out of their day to learn a little bit about what is known as IRMAA. It's something that, as Charlie pointed out, is going to impact the majority of people in retirement, because ultimately what IRMAA is, as you can see, is it's short for Medicare's income-related monthly adjustment amount. So the I is income, R is related, M is monthly, A is adjustment, A is amount. So it's IRMAA, onto IRMAA. It's a surcharge, simply a surcharge upon the current year's Medicare Part B and Part D premium for those who earn too much income. In the grand scheme of it, IRMAA is simply just a tax on income through Medicare. So the more income you generate, the larger the tax will be on Medicare Part B and Part D premiums. The reason why this podcast is extremely timely is the Medicare Board of Trustees just released its latest report. It just came out last night. I haven't gone through all of it, but they're still talking again that the Medicare IRMAA surcharges are what's going to ensure that the program is not going to go insolvent. Medicare can't necessarily go bankrupt because it's collecting income from people working, and they can always raise premiums, but it can not have enough money to be able to pay for all the coverages. What's great about Medicare's IRMAA is all they've got to do is just adjust the tax that people on Medicare are paying, and voila, they can afford Medicare. Now, when we start looking at who it's going to impact, if we look at a couple years ago, the Medicare Board of Trustees report, what we're going to find out is that in 2022, there were roughly 5.3 million people in IRMAA. They paid $16.1 billion in taxes, or basically extra premiums. By 2031, over the course of the next 7 years, there's going to be 13.5 million people in IRMAA. They're going to collect 63.8 billion. So between today, 2024 to 2031, they're going to collect over $300 billion from people on Medicare. And if they don't, Medicare is going insolvent. So the way you need to look at this very simply is, if you're a US congressperson, have it be the senator, have it be a representative, and Medicare is going insolvent, do you tell the American population that that Medicare is going to go insolvent because you don't want to have IRMAA impact wealthy people? Or do you just adjust IRMAA so you can collect even more money and save Medicare? What is going to happen with inside the confines of Congress? When you go up on the Hill, they're just going to adjust IRMAA. They're just going to raise your taxes. In fact, the President of the United States just last week was talking about how they're not going to stop the Trump tax cuts from sunsetting. That means your taxes are going up. So when we start looking at who IRMAA impacts, it's going to impact 13.5 million people just within the next 7 to 8 years. Now, when we start looking at how they're going to find the people what they do is they look at income, and income just isn't what you believe is income of a wage. Income happens to be the modified adjusted gross income of every single person that's reaching 65. So the first part of being an IRMAA is you have to be at least 65, retired, no longer covered by credible health insurance through an employer, spousal employer. Then you go on to Medicare, as Charlie will point out, because you're going to have to, and Charlie will make a mention of that. Then that government looks at your modified adjusted gross income. That happens to be your adjusted gross income, which is on line 11 of your IRS form 1040. And then it's also added your tax exempt interest, which is line 2A. They put those together, and that is your modified adjusted gross income. Now, you're going to ask, what is part of my modified adjusted gross income? And as we can see from the next slide, it happens to be almost everything that you have with inside your financial plan. It's your wages, rental income, dividends. You're going to see that we have red boxes, the traditional 401k, IRA, traditional 457, tax deferred annuities, taxable Social Security. The reason we have this in red is to draw your attention. These are things that you're being told by other financial firms and other financial professionals to take advantage of for retirement. In the reality, when you're 75, 80, 85 years old, wages isn't going to happen. Is rental income going to be a major income in retirement? We hope so, but again, by the time of 80, 85, 90, are you really going to be owning rental property? Or do you actually sell that off or have somebody else maintain it? But when in the realm of modified adjusted gross income, what the government knows is every single person is taking advantage of not paying taxes while they're young, which means putting money into their traditional 401k, because every single person has been told that you want to pay taxes later on when you're older, no longer working. So think of it this way: with your traditional 401k, you're placing money into a traditional 401k. You're getting a tax break today. They're telling you that when you're older, 75 years old, you don't have to take the money out till you're 75 years old. Well, they're going to tax you. Huh. Can you go back to work at the age of 75 and earn the same amount of income you were making at the age of 35 or 45? You're not going to be able to maintain the same amount of hours. And if you can, it won't be for much longer. So when you start looking at tax deferred assets, what you have to realize is they figured out a way to tax that tax deferred asset 4 different ways. So you're being told to place money into a traditional 401k because you get a tax break today. But take a stab at what happens when you get older. Any money that you take out of that tax deferred vehicle is taxed as ordinary income. That's tax 1. Then what they do when you start looking at retirement, when you work with the Melita group, you'll find this out very quickly. Your Social Security benefit can be taxed up to 85% of it. And what they do is they take a look at your income, your modified adjusted gross income, and they add half of your Social Security benefit to it. So let's say you're making $30,000 in Social Security. You cut that in half, that's 15,000, but then you take a withdrawal of ordinary income out of your tax deferred account. Let's call that 65,000 for the year. You believe you have $95,000 that you're going to be living off of for the year, but what you quickly find out is that 65,000 added to half of the Social Security benefit equates that 85% of your Social Security benefits going to be taxed. So now your Social Security benefit is going to be taxed. Your adjusted gross income is that taxable Social Security benefit, 85% of it, plus that withdrawal from ordinary income. You're now taxed twice. They're taxing you on the ordinary income. Now they've just figured out a way to use that ordinary income, that tax deferred dollar, to tax your Social Security benefit. And then we see in the next slide, they then take that tax 3, they then take that taxable Social Security benefit, they add it back to your traditional 401k withdrawal, and you've reached IRMAA. Now, are you really going to reach IRMAA in the first couple of years? Maybe, maybe not. As Charlie will show you, we can get you out of it if you are going to reach it. But later on, when you're 75, 80, 85 years old, and you have to take more and more money out of your traditional 401k because it's a required minimum distribution that gets larger and larger each year, you're eventually going to reach IRMAA. Because what they're going to do is they're going to take that RMD, add it to half of that Social Security benefit. So taxed once, taxed twice. Then they're going to take the taxable Social Security benefit, add it to the RMD, and presto. Third tax, they're going to increase your Medicare premiums. The fourth tax that they're going to use is that the bulk of your Medicare premiums and any IRMAA surcharges come directly out of your Social Security benefit. So if you think of big picture, are they really even paying out the Social Security benefit that you're believed to be receiving? You're being told by other financial professionals that you're going to collect, let's say, $30,000 a year on Social Security benefits. They never tell you that you're going to be taxed on that $30,000, at least 85% of it. Then they never tell you about about Medicare premiums coming out of your Social Security benefit. Then they never tell you about Medicare's IRMAA. They never tell you about the damage that a traditional 401k or IRA actually does to retirees.
Thanks, Dan.
You're more than welcome.
So as Dan mentioned, there are some rules around receiving Social Security. One of them is you must enroll in Medicare, or if not, you can forfeit all your current, past, and future Social Security benefits. Also, the bulk of those costs, as Dan mentioned, are directly deducted from your Social Security benefit. Now, if you have elected to defer Social Security to a later age, your responsibility would be to send the government a check for your Medicare premium on a quarterly basis. Now, this is an interesting slide. A couple of years ago, after the pandemic, the government came around and threw us retirees a bone and increased Social Security by nearly 6%. It was a payback for the struggles and challenges during COVID. But according to the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services, in the future, from 23 to 2036, that increase is only going to be 2.4%. Look at what the projected Medicare premium increase is, 6.34%. That's nearly a 4% deficit every year, 3.96 to be exact. Dan, back to you.
Well, thank you very much for bringing that back, because what I wanted to point out is this is probably the slide that most retirees need to be looking at or need to be aware of before retiring. People need to know about this well before they start even saving for retirement. This is what we like to call your moment of Zen. This is a chart that was created by the U.S. Congressional Budget Office, better known as the CBO of Congress. They're the accountants or the CPAs of Congress. They're going to tell your representatives what can and can't be done if in terms of affordability for legislation and actions. So in 2007, they released this report showing how Medicare, Medicaid, which is in light blue, Social Security, which is right below it, and the total U.S. budget, which is in blue. So Social Security, you could argue, I would say, is a light purple, but I'm told that I'm colorblind, but I believe that's a light purple. So they're going to show you how the three of them are going to react from 2002 all the way to 2072 over the next 70 years. Now, what you're going to notice is if we take a look at Medicare and Medicaid, what happens to the top line? It starts to increase, and it's going up like a ramp. At the exact same time, what happens to Social Security in the total US budget? They flatline. Now, how is this humanly possible? You're told that Social Security is going to go broke. It should be going down. The budget is out of control. Congress is spending money like they're a drunken sailor and they're out on leave for a week. Why is everything flat? Well, everything is flat because the federal government or the CBO knew that as long as the cost of healthcare increases, Social Security and the total US budget are all taken care of. Now, what we mean by that, what you know, as Charlie pointed out, in order for you to collect your Social Security benefit, you have to enroll in a Medicare or have qualified health coverage. And if you're 65 and older and you're not covered by credible health insurance through an employer or spousal employer, you have to enroll into Medicare or you lose all of your Social Security benefits. You don't have access to it. So when you take a look at big picture, they know, your government, that you have to enroll in a Medicare. Medicare premiums come directly out of your Social Security benefit. Social Security is supposed to be increasing at a rate of 2.4% each year for those that are collecting it. That's the cost of living adjustment. While Medicare at the exact same time is inflating by twice as much. If something's inflating by something else by more than by more than twice, how long does it take for that one thing to catch the other thing? So how long is it going to take Medicare, which is inflating at about 6.5%, to catch Social Security that's inflating at 2%? So all they've got to do is just raise Medicare premiums and they don't have to pay out Social Security benefits. And by the way, they're showing it right here. As Medicare goes up, what happens to Social Security? It flatlines. But then you're going to say, well, what about the total US budget? There's no way the US budget can remain flat. Really? These IRMAA surcharges that we're talking about, at $364 billion it's going to be collected just in the next 8 years. And oh, by the way, Congress can change the rules of IRMAA whenever they'd like. Whenever they'd like, they can just change the rules and you've got to pay. Those IRMAA surcharges, if you believe they're going back to the general fund of the US Treasury, we would say that's very nice of you. I'm sorry, if you believe they're going into, I got that backwards. If you believe they're going into Medicare coffers to help pay down the Medicare obligations, we would say that's very nice of you. The reality is it's going to the general fund of the US Treasury to help pay off debt. So ultimately, when you reach Medicare's IRMAA, you're helping the government pay down the debt. You are, in fact, stating, I don't mind paying more in taxes because I don't pay enough. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Charlie. Oh,
Thank
no,
you,
wait, this is still, I do apologize. I want to sum it up. I thought we were past the summation. I do apologize. In the grand scheme of things, when it comes to retirement, even if you're in it or planning for it, you don't have a choice. The largest expense you have in retirement, or the greatest asset you have in retirement, is your health. The key is to actually control those costs. And the only way that you're going to be able to control those costs is to effectively manage outside of that tax deferred asset. It's going to help you generate the right type of income, and it's going to save your Social Security benefits. You have a mandatory cost in retirement. And here's the question that we need to ask. Which financial firm has ever told you that you had to collect in order to collect Social Security, you have to enroll in a Medicare? It's only been a law since 1965. Which financial firm has ever told you the truth about retirement?
Thanks, Dan.
Yo,
Hey, Adriana, do we have any questions in the chat?
All right, we have one question so far. It says, am I able to appeal my IRMAA decision?
Great question. Actually, if you think you've been placed into an IRMAA bracket unfairly and you want to appeal this decision, yes, Medicare and Social Security have created an appeal process to assist you in making this correction. We do recommend contacting a financial professional to assist you to make sure that you have completed the process correctly. And yes, I can tell you the process does work. I've had a client who I assisted in the appeals process, and he actually received a substantial refund of over $11,000. So yes, it's possible. And yes, I strongly suggest you reach out to us or a financial professional to assist you if you think you've been charged incorrectly. I want to thank everybody for attending today. Please remember to check out our IRMAA page on my website, charlesmelita.com, and join our Facebook group, Have You Been Injured by IRMAA? Anyone who reaches out to us after this program will receive a personalized healthcare planner report. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Have a great rest of your day.